Hey there friends and fam, welcome to this video. As a quick little caveat, I want to apologize for the not so great visual quality here. My video camera is currently out of order, so I'm using my phone. But hopefully we can look past any grainy visuals and really just resonate and connect with the conversation being had, because it is the words and the information which is most important. So let's crack into it. This video article is about the topic of the big picture of optimal well-being. Now, when most of us think about optimal well-being, we may visualize things such as fruit and vegetables, trail runs, and yoga classes. And while these things such as diet and exercise are fundamental to optimal well-being, they are only two pillars in a much larger structure. I would suggest that there are many more puzzle pieces which need to come into focus and click into place in order to realize optimal health and well-being. Now, I've written up a list here. It's a list of 12 different points, and I believe each of these points is a really fundamental facet to optimal well-being. And it's very much worth exploring each of these different facets if we are to have optimal health and wellness and vitality. Now, as I go through this list, I would like you to humor me. And by the way that you can humor me is, as I go through it, visualize yourself having mastered each of these different points. Get a sense for what it would look like and feel like to have mastered each of these different points. Okay, now I've written them in a list, and I'm gonna, flash the list up at the end, but first I'll just speak the list. It starts off quite generic, but then gets a little bit more refined as we go along. So the first key facet to optimal well-being is diet. And then movement. Now remember, we're going to visualize what it's like to master each of these. So with that in mind, let's quickly start again. Diet. Movement. Sleep and rest. Cleansing the body. That's often done through detoxing via fasting, and some plant medicines also help to detoxify the body, but fasting is the most accessible one, I would say. So cleansing the body. Fifth, we have energy cultivation. I'm referring to Eastern practices of energy cultivation, such as Qigong, yoga, and breath work. And I certainly think there is a distinction between these Eastern forms of energy cultivation and our Western understanding of exercise. So that's fifth, energy cultivation. So far we've gone through some quite generic ones which really help to optimize the body in a very physiological sense. You know, things like our diet, our exercise, sleeping well, cleansing the body, energy cultivation. That's like the foundation on a quite physiological level. So that's the first five. Then after that, we have spiritual understanding. I'm not talking about New Age mythology. I'm not talking about angels and tarot cards. But I'm talking about having a very practical, working understanding of the true spiritual principles which underpin reality. So that comes into understanding things like union, which is like the union of individual consciousness with the environment, because both do really depend on each other to exist. And within true spiritual understanding, there's also certain principles like understanding the nature of the self, understanding the nature of the mind, the nature of reality, understanding things like transience, things like oneness, and also understanding the highest virtues of peace and love and compassion. So quickly visualize what it would be like to master those things, that spiritual understanding, peace, love, and compassion. Next on the list, we have the arts. I really believe it's super good for our well-being to just play around in any particular art form or aesthetic that you like, just for the fun of it. I find that, partaking in art and aesthetics, it's very therapeutic, and it's like a workout for the mind and the body, and it really soothes the mind and the body. So I think the arts, whatever art form it is you like, play around in it. It's great for well-being. Number 8, we have knowledge. I think it's very useful to build the ability to learn different concepts which help us to get better at all the other pillars of well-being. So knowledge is a great one. Next, relationships. This can include sexual as well as friendship and platonic and community connections. I think relationships are great. Next, meaningful work. Next, economic well-being. This can include finances, but economy refers to the flow of resources. So it can include finances, but it may include other ways of acquiring the resources you need, or manufacturing the resources you need, so to speak. Just being able to get the resources that you need. And the funny thing about economic well-being is it's really just in place to allow all the other facets of well-being to flourish. And then lastly is social structures. We are undoubtedly influenced and impacted by the social structures in which we live. And this can include the economic landscape, the political landscape, the cultural landscape, the whole matrix, the whole system that we are all live in. And the social structures that any person lives in will have an impact on their well-being. So I think it's very healthy and very good for each of our well-being to try and maximize how healthy our society is. Like, some may say that our society already is quite good, and it certainly does allow for our well-being to flourish in all those facets. I do agree to that to some extent. But then there may also be certain ways that our society can be improved. And as we get down all of these other facets of well-being, I think it's really important that we play our part to promote and help create a society which has really healthy societal values, a healthy, inclusive culture, good equity, good connection, the ability to cultivate healthy resources which are in harmony with the environment and sustainable with the environment. Ultimately, a healthy and well society will create healthy and well individuals. And it works both ways. So just keeping our social structures in mind certainly will benefit our well-being in the long run, and it will benefit humanity's well-being in the long run. So that is the list. And now I'm going to just put it up here for reference. If you want to write it down, now is the time to pause the video and jot it down, or just take a screenshot. And yeah, let us just speak them once more powerfully through without any interruptions or explanations. And remember, imagine yourself mastering these as you go through. So we have diet, movement, sleep and rest, cleansing the body, spiritual understanding, energy cultivation. I got the order wrong then, whoopsie, but oh well. Energy cultivation, the arts, knowledge, relationships, meaningful work, economic well-being, and social structures and social well-being. Okay, so why is it that I would want to share this list with you? What is my purpose for this? Well, for one, I just think it's really helpful to have this big picture map of optimal wellness, because then it allows us to dip our toe in the water in each of these areas as we so wish. But perhaps the even more vital reason that I wanted to share these facets of well-being with you is to serve as a bit of an introduction to the work I'm going to be doing with these video articles as well as written articles in the future. I really love the topic of holistic well-being, and I suppose I want to be a master of holistic well-being. So as you watch these videos, you're going to see me documenting my personal exploration and learning experiences in each and every of these fields. I'm going to be exploring these fields in both the theory, but most important, the prac. And I'm going to be documenting the theories and knowledge that I learn, as well as what my first-hand experience was when I applied it. And that's what you'll be exposed to in the future videos. Now, it's very obvious that I am not a deep specialist in any particular field. That's quite obvious given the breadth of my exploration. So don't quote me as an authority or a deep specialist in any field, but rather I'm more like an investigator and a reporter. And I'm going to be reporting my learning experiences. And ultimately what I'm going to be sharing and what you're going to be able to take from this if you follow these videos is you're going to be learning different formulas that equal optimal well-being, that equal optimal vitality. And I think that learning the formula for what is optimal, it really liberates us and frees us. Because once we know the formula for optimal well-being and optimal vitality, we are able to follow that formula to whatever extent we wish. We don't need to follow it 100% all of the time. Perhaps you would like to follow the formula 70% of the time, 80% of the time, 95% of the time, and then experience the corresponding level of vitality and well-being from the output that you give. But if we don't even know the exact formula for what is optimal, then we don't even have that choice. We don't really have as much of a choice as to how much well-being we feel. So ultimately my mission with these videos is to give us all much more choice as to how much vitality and well-being we are able to feel in this lifetime. So yeah, I really hope you enjoyed this video. I hope that you are able to perhaps explore each of these different pillars of well-being, so to speak. And certainly stay tuned for more videos. I'm going to be sharing my exploration of each of these. I certainly have explored a whole bunch of them to a good extent, but there's much more to learn. So yeah, I hope you enjoy your explorations, and I hope that we can share some great insight and wisdom. Much love, much peace, much blessings.